Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, greetings and salutations. Another episode of Fangs up here, and I was trying to double check their website, but it is trash. So um, yeah, and that speaking is honestly just kind of looking at Valley's website. It's out of date. It's not like that. It just sucks. It's just the website's not up to date. The social media is not up to date either. So wish them well with that though. I do understand, but HBCU Digital, this is home to Herb Seward and the Black Techies. Got some upcoming stuff coming up on HBCU Digital Network as well. So look, some cool things to come. Working with the Pigskin Showdown. You have colleges, HBCU All Star event, and it's gonna be a pretty awesome event. Not gonna lie to you, happening in Chicago, Illinois. Go check out hbcudigital.com for more information about that. Kind of excited to see that because I want to see when it's gonna be. I ain't saying I'm trying to be there. I'm trying to be there. I'm just saying, trying to see if I can get a flight or something. A little something, something. But today we're gonna talk about the game against Mississippi Valley State. Don't sleep on the Delta Devils, and the reason for that is because as we talked, FAMU's got two games that are major travel games: OBC and a trip to Houston. This may be another game where you want to try to book a flight to Jackson. And why Jackson instead of Itta Bena? If you asking that question, you've never been to Itta Bena, respectfully, but it's not a place you fly into. You fly into Jackson, then you drive that hour or so to the Delta, and it's really different over there. I mean, I guess I've said it quite a few times. Great people. What in my experience going to the Delta every time, I came away feeling overly loved on. Like people not really knowing you and just kind of really good people, just really good people. So it's gonna be real tough for you to get me to say something too bad about the people that I met there. I can't speak for who there, but who I met there, they're really genuine, cool people. But before we start talking about the football game, FAMU did get a baseball signing. Andrew Ginther, he is a transfer from Eastern Kentucky University. He is a right-hand pitcher. And that is, if you're not familiar, that's always going to be the easiest way to get a scholarship with FAMU baseball is to be able to sling that ball. If you can pitch, you can get a scholarship. And we definitely saw after losing Hunter Veets and some of the other players, FAMU was going to be in need of some pitching, and they were able to get one. He also has a brother that also goes to Eastern Kentucky. Don't be surprised if we try to get a little package deal going where you get a little 2-for-1, especially considering after the success you just had this season. That's something that you got to consider. You got to at least be honest enough to say within your program that that's something that you can do. You can go to NCAA tournaments, and in going to NCAA tournaments, hopefully we can get some upgrades to more kiddos field because we're seeing a lot get invested in football, rightfully so. Football generates revenue, but we do need to see some of that trickle down to baseball because baseball is our first men's sport to win a conference championship in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So again, I'm with my dad when it comes to Jamie Shoup. Look, that's one of the people I'll definitely ride for on that one. So wanted to get a FAMU baseball jersey up there. I got the basketball, I got the football, so I need a baseball or softball jersey, or bring back the old FAMU hats. They used to have them. I can't find them. But for me, we're gonna start talking about this football game. The Mississippi Valley State game to me is a trap game. I'm gonna say it like that. last time we played Valley, it was tight. Like that game was very close, much closer than I ain't even gonna say the experts, but most more closer than we would have liked it. I mean, last year's game was really close. It was one of those games where by the end of the game, I remember sitting there looking like, why is this game this close? Like, not saying we should have blew them out, but I'm saying that it should not have been that competitive. It should have been a game that we won with a lot more room than we did last year, and that wasn't the case. Last year's game, again, Valley went 2-9, so already tells you that. And it was 34-7, but Valley was hanging for a little minute. Like that was a second half pull away where halftime was 14-7. And then we just I mean, FAMU literally scored the next 27 points. So it was 7-7, and then we just shut them out for 3 quarters. But Valley was hanging tight. And that was that game where if you look at attendance, that's gonna be one of the things I want for anybody who really wants to like harp on FAMU's attendance and fuss about who did and did not attend. Hola, Nemo. Sure. Show contributor Nemo, um, aka my son, walks into the room. He walks back out. But yeah, it's just that's a game that really we out talented them in. I mean, you could say it a different way, but we were just more talented than they were at the end of the game. And I think that's the case here. Again, when I was talking about attendance, I got distracted because the man's walking to the room. But that was one of the games where I believe the weather was supposed to be jacked up. It was like, and then it was like, "Hey, don't come to the game." And then all of a sudden, the weather was not as bad as it was, and we had attendance of 10,000. And half the stadium shows up when the weather's supposed to be trash. So, I mean, it's not like Bragg is a large stadium. I mean, Bragg does not seat 20,000 anymore. It's 19,000 seats after the renovation. So, hopefully, we can do something to add to the stadium to get it back into the 20s. But right now, you talk about 19,000, and it's probably going to stay that way for a while, unless, I mean, if I'd hit that Mega Millions, maybe I'd have had your back. I ain't gonna lie. I'd have gave you, a good 20, 30, 40, one, I'd probably get like 100 million. Watch FAMU be great, I mean, I'm gonna leave it at there though. But yeah, last year's game was close, a lot closer than I personally would have liked when you kind of look at it because it was just one of those games where Valley hung around to halftime. After halftime, it got away from them. Like we just again just wore them out. But this is a game where FAMU, the rushing game wasn't great. We rushed for 100 yards, but 3 yards per carry. It's not really, it's not bad, but it's not good. Like I tell anybody, I'll take 3 yards a carry if you're guaranteeing me. Because if you can guarantee me 3 yards every time, that's cool. Because 3 times 12, 4 downs, I'm getting the first down every 4 yards. I'm a little frustrated with it, but if I know it's gonna come, like, oh yeah, that's 3 yards, baby. We got this. I'm not gonna be mad about it. But you know, we did go no interceptions this game, 300 yards passing though. So that Musa had himself a day. Musa had himself a day, and I think I haven't looked yet. I'm gonna say Zay went over 100. I'm pretty sure. No running backs went over 100 yards. Xavier Smith 128. So back to kind of what we were talking about the receiver show. What you lost? You lost 1,000-yard receiver, and nobody else had more than like 600. It's a huge drop off coming back there. As far as what Valley is or what they were, this is a team where honestly, stats don't mean anything to me. And it's not because they're Valley and poo poo and woo woo woo, they're Valley. Like, no, it's because Valley is another team with a new coach. One of the things I pointed out for FAMU, anybody who's kind of watched it, thank you, show contributor Nemo. Uh, Nemo closed the door. But FAMU plays an abundance of first year coaches. We literally start the season. Our first 3 games are against first year coaches. Our first 5 games are against first and second year coaches. I don't know how long my man's been at Texas Southern, but literally Jackson State first year, damn you by 20. University of South Florida, first year. University of West Florida, first year. Alabama State, he is in his second year. Cal first year. Southern, second year. Again, I don't know how long you Texas Southern's been there. Prairie View, I'll double check with y'all on that. Alabama A&M, he's been there, and Cookman first year. So you can already see over half of FAMU's football is against coaches who are in their first or second year, and some are extremely inexperienced as head coaches. And we're talking Jackson State, first-time head coach. USF, first-time head coach. West Florida, first-time head coach. I believe, Alabama State, I mean, granted, he's in his second year, but I think this is his first time as a head coach. Valley, his first time as a head coach at the university, I believe. I could be wrong there. So you kinda starting to look over. Same thing with Brooklyn, when you hit that part of the schedule, it's a lot to kinda start to look at and start to really wonder how this is gonna work. Now, the reason I say it's a trap game, travel. I've told anybody, and we had the conversation about that travel. Valley is not an easy place to get to. That's about an 8-hour ride from Tallahassee. I'm not telling you from what somebody told me. I'm telling you from what I've done in a car. I've driven to where Itta Bena is, for family and other stuff, friends, and that's a long ride. That's a long ride. It can be longer than 8, especially if you're on a bus. That is one of those rides where, yeah, that's a concern. If you're not flying for that trip, man, it would be really nice to have boosters, the alumni association, the affinity groups get together to try to work on providing travel for this game in particular because that's an 8-hour trip, and that 8-hour trip is could affect your ability to go to Celebration Bowl because you're gonna have back-to-back trips. You got Valley 1 week, and the SWAC really does you no favors in the scheduling here, this season. Now, the following season, they probably do if it's they're just gonna invert the schedule. But they do you no favors because 'cause you're traveling 8 hours to Itta Bena 1 week, 6 hours to Baton Rouge the next, and that trip to Baton Rouge is not short, like, so you're starting to talk about where, man, the downside of, some of the stuff um, the AAC deal that kinda went left, like, what could have been if you had those funds, so but this ain't about that, but that's just kinda pointing out, if you had the budget, man, it would be nice for FAMU to really catch 4 flights this season. I mean, again, that's if, but that'd be really beneficial to the team just as far as wear and tear on the bodies, them being able to get there and back. A trip to Baton Rouge flying versus a trip to Baton Rouge driving, you're talking probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours compared to a solid 6 or 7-hour ride. And to Itta Bena, you're talking on a bus, 9, 8, 9, 10 hours. Like, that's a long ride, and it's like, it is. So, that to me is gonna be the great equalizer in this game. The travel for this game is gonna be what levels the playing field in favor of Valley. Now, where this is going to really kick Valley in the teeth is you're gonna say the word "lost" a lot of times with this program. They lost their head coach. They lost him to Colorado. He kind of mean, and at one point, you kinda can get mad at the brother, like, "Man, why you gonna leave Valley like that?" The other side, they were 2 and 9. It's just like what we saw with the writing's on the wall. I've done everything I can do here. I got a really good player. He's probably voiced that he's disgruntled, and he does transfer. He's going to transfer. Why am I gonna stay here when I see what Dion's doing? They're giving Dion a long leash. This could turn into something for me. I see how some coaches literally land there with prime and they're in the NFL the next day. I'm talking about Willie Taggart. I think Willie Taggart's with the Baltimore Ravens now. If you don't remember, don't for if you have not forgotten, he got fired at FAU too. just like he got fired at Florida State. And after he leaves FAU, he lands at Colorado. And man, Taggart was there long enough to breathe the air, pass by a smoke shop, and then he got an NFL job. So you're starting to see like, yeah, why the hell am I doing this? Like as a person, I'm here. This is a tough get. This is a tough place to recruit to. We got a 2-9 season, facilities, XYZ, whatever you wanna say about Valley. That's your business. I'm not gonna talk bad about them. But they lose their head coach, and then they lose their best running back. Caleb Johnson, like, go back and look at that FAMU game. Like, he was a player of concern. Like, he was definitely a guy that it was like, "Yo, if we don't slow this kid down, it could be a problem." And we did slow him down. I mean, he still averaged 5 yards a carry. But 10 carries, 58 yards, and really part of the reason Valley just stops running the ball is because I mean, you made it difficult, but then you started once halftime hits, we pull away. So then it's like they really can't run the ball, which that was what they did well last year. They were really solid running team, and they were tough. Like, Valley was a really tough team, and they played with a lot of heart and fight. But one of the things they did do, they hit the transfer portal, and Valley has been that place where I think this is their niche. If you're a Mississippi Valley State fan, like, I'm not trying to tell your story, and please don't take this as a, know, um, harsh criticism of your program. But this is a critique. I will say this, this is your niche. Getting in the game late. Valley can be the that team that cleans up in the transfer portal, and when I mean clean up, I mean literally clean up, like, "Oh, these guys are left. Let's see who we can get that's left and bring them here because if all else fails, this is a Division One scholarship. It may not be the place you want, but you start selling it as last chance you. That to me becomes how you sell. How you sell it, and not like last chance you like that saying it's your last chance, but you sell it as, "Hey, you get it out the mud here. You get it out the delta here. And when you come out the delta, you a different kind of player." Like, that's to me, that's their selling point as a program because they're bringing in transfers. The problem is they're bringing in too many skill positions. One of the things that I'm a very harsh critic of is bringing in too many skill positions in a transfer portal when you're not bringing in enough beef on the line. It don't matter how many receivers you got if you can't get them the ball. We saw that with Southern last year. Southern really had a really great running back, some really good receivers. They had a quarterback that just wasn't a quarterback. He was a running quarterback. Put him in the option, give him some things where he can run and move the pocket, and yeah, the kid is a problem. But the second he gotta sit there and stand in the pocket, was not gonna happen. And I think for Valley, this is your niche. They signed Jonah Lyle from Cincinnati. He's a DB. They also got Eric Campbell, East Tennessee State, another DB. And then they got Antoine Burham from Memphis. He's a linebacker. Those are 3 guys that they're probably gonna start right away. And one thing about Valley, their defense is good last year. They weren't blowing they didn't get blown out every game. And no, every game was not competitive, but again, a lot of that was just because they just didn't have the dog. And most of it is that they dogs in the trenches. Like, it is coming down to the strength and conditioning programs and all those things because, yeah, they do get blown out a couple times last season. They even lost to a Division II team. But what you when you go back and watch those games, a lot of times the game was won or lost in the trenches, and it was the fact that they either really couldn't get their run going or the other teams got up to a point to where they rallied. And once they throw the ball, the game is over. Like, it wasn't their thing. Now they beat Prairie View and they beat Alabama A&M. Those are nice wins. But you just start to kinda notice end of the season, they figure out they got their thing going. This is a game where and this is a program where for me, if Valley's gonna be successful, they've got to take advantage of 3 things. 1, proximity. And I was like, "It's the Valley, it's in the middle of nowhere." It's not. It's actually not far from Memphis. And a lot of people that live in that area go to Memphis for everything. Like, they go to Greenville to gamble at the little casino they got there. Yeah, come on, look, don't play with me. I told y'all I've been there. I didn't go, but a lot of people go to Memphis on the weekend. Like, Memphis is a weekend trip for a lot of people in that region. Like, "Hey, let's go to Memphis. Let's get out of here. Let's do some things." That can become your recruiting background. Valley, definitely, yes, focus on the Delta, circle around the Delta, but reach up to the Memphis in that Arkansas area and become that program, that feeder program for players that are at the University of Memphis, Arkansas State, the University of Arkansas, and Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and become that program where it's like, "Hey, you know what? It didn't work there. Come get an HBCU experience. Come get loved on, come get the treatment." That can be their selling point. That's how they can become a competitor. I'm not saying that they're gonna win the SWAC. I'm definitely not gonna. Uh, we're not playing Xbox, and so I'm not so naive as to sit up here and tell you they're gonna start winning the SWAC. No, that's how they're gonna fix this because some of the reason that they struggle is due to talent and lack of infrastructure because it's a talent-rich area, but at the same point, it's a population poor area. Like, not speaking of not speaking of income. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about lacking major cities. Like, you're gonna start to notice your Greenwoods, your Greenvilles, a lot of these cities are relatively small cities, and they're producing a few student athletes here and there, but those the big athletes are going to big schools. They're going to Ole Miss. They're going to Mississippi State. They're going to Southern Miss. They're not gonna stay there because it's just not. It's not big time football. But what the niche can be is bringing in those guys who are in the portal, bounce back, getting those guys from the Mississippi community college system, which they have a great community college football system. Bring those guys in and really use those as your feeder programs because you're seeing the other schools in the conference do this. They're going to hell. And you got coming out of this community college. Independence. We got dudes from Kansas on the team. I mean, so you're starting to see that's gonna be how they build this program. Now in this game, I'm not gonna lie, FAMU should blow them out. I'm not gonna say we're going to. If things are done right, if all things are taken care of, there is no place that Valley has an advantage over FAMU. And that's not being, like, arrogant. It's just the only place where I would say it's even competitive is really the skill positions. When you start saying receiver versus corner. I think Valley's corners are gonna play with a certain bit of what for that could be a problem. 'Cause if I'm Valley's coach, I look at what Jackson State did last year, and if I'm any coach, I watch that Jackson State film, and I'll be like, "They kinda got bullied on the line sometimes." If I can say that and be respectful, our receivers did not do a good job of getting into their breaks. It didn't. I think that's my game plan. Like, you got to show me, and I'm gonna be disrespectful. As a coach, I'm like, "Xavier Smith ain't here no more. One of y'all gotta show you gotta show me you're him." And that's my mindset. That's just me as a person. Like, I'm just that kind of person. I'm nice to a point, but once I'm kinda off nice, like, sometimes you just gotta show me. And it's not even like we gotta fight, it's just like, Imma stick to my point. If I said it, I meant it, I meant it, I said it. And if I believe it, I'm going for it. And that's just for me, as a football mind, I just had that mentality and that mindset that your best player is not there anymore. Who's next? And somebody will appear, I'm fairly confident, but who's that new dude? And you're gonna have to show me him. Because the other time we played Valley, that game was tight. Like, go back to, what was that, 21? 2021, and forgive me for looking this way, I'm looking at the screen, so, you know, that was a 4 and 7, that was a 3-point victory for FAMU. So, I'm not just saying this because I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to get y'all excited and trying to create some content to get you to watch the podcast." No, I really believe this, like, in the words of Cameron Giles, I really mean it. Don't go. Sorry, some of y'all not gonna catch that. Dipset for life, though. But it was a 31-28 game, and FAMU's defense bailed us out. Like, you go back and watch that game. Sean McKay had he was up and down that game. He wasn't spectacular, but he wasn't terrible either. Um, I go back and pull up the stats, but that was just one of those games where you kinda go back, you look, and you're like, "It was really close." McKay, 180, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like I told you, he wasn't spectacular, but he wasn't terrible. Um, probably was his that was probably his worst game of the season, honestly. Well, 2nd worst. That Jackson State game was his worst. But yeah, like, that was a game where it was a three-point game, and so you're gonna start to see within this FAMU Valley, whatever we're going to have, that's gonna be an ongoing thing in the years when FAMU's doing a lot of traveling. It's really going to catch up to you unless you're going to, 1, get a 3rd game where you're flying, or a 4th, especially when you're looking at the schedule and FAMU is traveling to Southern and Valley in the same year. That's a that's an every year thing. That's something to where scheduling wise, you gotta talk to the conference. You gotta talk to the conference about that one and say, "Hey, next year, you know, it is what it is, but 25, can we not have Southern and Valley back to back or like back to back weeks where we're extended travel?" Because that's detrimental to your team's ability to compete. Because I'm gonna foreshadow this for all y'all. FAMU is going to get the most hate if they win this conference. And furthermore, if they can go to the Celebration Bowl and win this will be the most hated champion in the conference because we're not readily accepted. Like, we do kinda snub our nose at a lot of swag stuff. We are arrogant. We are. But at the same point, we back it up. I almost said something. We back it up. Like, we win in conference championships. Like, year 2 in the conference, we got what, 4 this year? 3, 4? Like, yeah, we gonna brag a little bit, and we don't play every SWAC sport. Of course we talking trash. Almost half the sports we play in, we got a championship in. What's that? Baseball, bowling, volleyball. So, not half. I exaggerated. So 3 out of okay, 'cause the basketball is an abject disaster on both sides. Golf was right there, though. Track was solid. Cheerleading was 2nd. Cross country, I don't remember what we did, ain't gonna lie. Softball was straight, and this is our 1st season. Like, don't sleep on her. Yeah, so, alright, okay. We can I can go with that. So, for this game, though, Imma give you my score. Mm, last time we went up there was 31-28. We need Musa to come up big in this one. And honestly, this is a game where FAMU could and should be able to just run the ball. I just and I'm not able to pull up Valley's roster because the website's not up to date. Um, that's not the updated roster. I can see who they signed. Like, so that was actually kind of fly. I ain't gonna lie. But I would appreciate if they were able to get some help with that. I ain't trying to throw nobody under the bus like that. I get when you're running a website and you're doing all this stuff by yourself, it's taxing. But for this game, I think FAMU dominates. I think FAMU goes 42, 14. I just don't think in the first year, another first year head coach going against FAMU's Monstars. Like, this is the best team FAMU's ever had. I don't think Valley's gonna be able to keep up. If they can find something on offense, they'll be able to do something, but I think they just lost too much. I mean, just conference-wise, the state of Mississippi lost the most as far as football. Like, challenge me on that if you want to, but I don't think any state within its athletic programs lost more as far as coaching and talent than that state. I think Alcorn is the only outlier that really preserved anything. Whereas you look at Obviously Jackson State, you lost a lot. And then in Valley, you lose less, but who you lose. See, with Jackson State, they lost quantity and quality. You lost a quality coach, and I give Prime his props. He's quality, like especially in the SWAC. That brother's quality. You lose offensive line, quarterback, receivers, offensive linemen, every major position except for maybe the D line. They lost somebody that you're just like, oh crap, that's huge. Like you just go down that position for position. You're like, oh, like crap. Like the FAMU 20 by 20 thing started out kind of as a joke. Like I said at first, and then I looked, I was like, nah, I really believe that. Like, nah, I ain't just riding that because I've been saying it. Like, I really think we're 20 points better than you. But with Valley, they lost quality. They lost a young coaching mind who the previous season, 4 wins, and 4 wins, 4-7 at Valley. Okay, that doesn't sound like a lot, but go back and look. That team was close and competitive in some of those games that they lost in that 21 year. And then you're coming back to last year, not as competitive, but he had something brewing. And if he could have got some more talent to come in, I think he does better and was able to keep some of his talent. I think that this season would have projected to be another 4-win season, which while it's not winning, it's also not the abject failure that it seems like. Like that Valley team beat North Carolina Central. I mean, I don't think they're gonna beat them this year, but that Valley team takes Alcorn to the wire. They take FAMU to the wire. They gave Jackson State a fight. Like that's what 3 games I listed right there. That's the difference between a winning season and a losing season for that season. Last year's team, they just didn't have the offense, and this year with a new coach, I don't think he's going to be able to put together the points that quick with the amount of time, the talent, and then just some of the what you're not getting in. Because what you're not getting in is D1 ready talent on the lines of scrimmage. You're not getting a lot of that. You're getting some of it. And again, this is where I go back and I say, if Valley's gonna turn this into a 6-win program, you gotta hit the community colleges and you gotta kill the transfer portal. This has to become transfer portal U. Like the program that, hey, you come to Valley, you get out the mud, you sell that. You sell that, get it out. And that's something I would put in my gym, in my locker room, get it out the mud. And I would talk about the history of the Delta. Because some of y'all we talk about get it out of the mud, and if you're not from, you don't understand like people get it from struggling, but you don't really get like how important that mud is to the Delta. Like without the mud of the Delta, you can't grow what you grow there. And I think that's something they sell. I think that's what this program can become. I think this is a program that in the future can become that 6-win program because you're gonna see Jackson's going Jackson. Like they're gonna have you on facilities for the next while. Like Prime set some stuff in motion that no other school in the conference had. But what you're going to catch them on in is that, especially with what FAMU's trying to do, you have a coaching staff at FAMU that has learned to use the transfer portal. There is no school in the SWAC that is doing the transfer portal better than FAMU, in my opinion. I think Jackson State did it better than FAMU, but actively doing it now, FAMU is it. Like, what other school in the SWAC has the roster that FAMU has brought in, the depth that they have, and to the point that you're like, your best defensive lineman leaves, and you're like, if he comes back, he comes back. If he leaves, he leaves. And you're just like, and as a fan, you're like, okay, it's not, there is no hullabaloo or anything. It's just the facts are the facts. If that guy doesn't wanna come back, it's okay, we wish him well, you're love you forever, but you're gone. That's not common, that's not normal, and that's not something that a lot of these teams could withstand. We definitely saw Southern grab some people. Southern did it right. They grabbed the quarterback, grabbed some linemen. that team's gonna be better than you thought. Jackson State lost a lot. I'm not gonna say Valley's gonna beat that team this year. I ain't gonna lie. Oof. I'm looking at Valley's schedule. They might. Central State's gonna be better than y'all think as far as game wise. Like Valley can lean on them because of scholarship numbers, but body for body, that that we'll see. Delta State, they lost to them last year. They're gonna lose again. That's it, and you're losing to a Division two team. And you know what? I'm not gonna talk a lot of trash about that because we got two of them this year, and one of them, early on I was a little down on, but now I'm a little more confident. North Carolina Central, yeah, yeah, North Carolina Central might have the best quarterback in Black college football. I'm biased, but it's still, but a still, not but still, but a still. Then they got FAMU. I think that's an L. Prairie View, I don't know. I can't trust Prairie View's coach. It should be a L, but I don't know. Then they got Pine Bluff. That's another first year coach deal. Toss up. Jackson, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. Jackson should win. I don't know, man. I don't. If that don't be surprised. I'm just gonna stay with that one. Alcorn, that's an L. Um, Cookman, I think they beat Cookman. And that's not even me being a hater. That's just me being real. Like Cookman lost a lot. Like a lot of us don't really realize like they're still recovering. Like they still are building out and they're doing the same thing as far as building from the outside in. Not enough offensive linemen have come in for me to see difference makers. Alabama State, Alabama, that's Alabama man is a gas. I ain't mean to say it like that, but they're gonna blow their ass out. Like, and you beat them last year? Oh yeah, man, please. Last game of the season? Yeah, man. Alabama ain't about 40. That's a two-win season, maybe three. Like I think if Valley does well this year, it's a three-win season. If Valley shoots to the moon, it's two. But this could be a 0 everything season for them. It shouldn't be, but it very well could be just because where they are. And hopefully they fix it. Hopefully it's not that. I don't wish Owen. Okay, I don't wish Owen and nothing on most teams, but I ain't gonna lie, it's like 2 or 3 of y'all can kick rock with Sam because I'm and Jackson State's not one of them. So if you know me well, you're one of my friends, you probably laughing because you know that one of those teams, yeah. The other one, I've loosened up. I've softened up on them, but when they have losing seasons, I don't cry. Um, but yeah, so this one, I'll go back over it, give y'all a quick recap. Fam, you got a baseball edition, and Ginther, he's a pitcher coming in 5'10" from Eastern Kentucky. And we talked about the Valley game. So the Valley game, Valley lost a lot. Last time we played Valley, FAMU won by 3 points. It was a struggle, but Rashawn McKay struggled. He didn't have a good game. Like he was less than 200 yards. He does throw three touchdowns, but he also got 2 picks. I want to say he had a fumble in a bit too. Like it was a struggle. That was his second worst game to me. I thought the worst game of that season for McKay was definitely the Orange Box Classic where he gets pulled for Junior Muratovic, and then the next week Junior started correctly against all what was that Fort Valley or Albany State, one of them, and it got to the point where we had to really kind of bring McKay back, kind of say, um, a lot of y'all ain't gonna give that man that credit for that. But Junior was young and didn't really know the offense. Now with this one though, I also pointed that Valley lost a lot. Like Valley in the state of Mississippi have lost the most out of any state, in my opinion, in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Look at what Jackson lost as far as talent and quality of coaching and quality of players versus what they got back. I think there's a major deficit there, and you're gonna see some youngins play, and they got a corner from Tallahassee, from Rickers High School, but man, I think they're gonna throw that kid out there, and I'm just gonna say it like this, man. You throwing a true freshman against grown men. That's not funny. Like, I mean, we kinda we're forgetting this about the transfer portal. Some of these dudes playing college football are 24 or 25 years old. Like, some of y'all I know some of y'all didn't play football because I see how some of y'all react when you're, "Oh, why this dude did that, and why this guy, he playing Division I football." Like, "Yeah, we're going against a senior. It's a grown man. He gonna get stepdaddy for 4 quarters." Like, I'm just saying, go watch the Florida Classic last year. There's a reason FAMU really that game was never competitive. Look at the line of scrimmage. Cookman got the stepdaddy treatment all game long, and this is where I say, if FAMU's travel straight, it's we're gonna be doing the stepdaddy. "You ain't my daddy, shut up." Like, it's gonna be a 4 quarters of stepdaddy treatment because we just got the body. We got the size, and we have the strength and conditioning commitment from alumni boosters and whatnot. So I think that's gonna be playing huge. And I pointed out though, Valley did get some transfers. They got Joe Little, he's a corner from Cincinnati. Eric Campbell, he's a DB from East Tennessee, and they got Antoine Barham, linebacker from Memphis. These are good additions, and they're probably gonna start. But the problem is their front 7 is gonna be their front 4, I said front 7. Their defensive line is going to be the problem because how many dogs you got out there? And, how many dudes they got that's just dudes, where you walking off the they're walking off the bus and you like, "That's some dudes." I ain't gonna lie, I didn't in all the games I went to last year, there was only 3 games I saw some dudes, where it's like, number 1, Jackson State. That game was full of dudes. Like, Jackson hit the tunnel, you're like, "Yeah, there's some dudes." Yeah, yep, them some dudes. Corn-fed, whatever you wanna call them, and a lot of them from Florida. Those are some dudes. Honestly, when FAMU walked in, dudes, lighter dudes, but some dudes. Alabama A&M had some dudes last year. Not a lot, but they had some dudes. The other one, I ain't gonna lie, man, Southern. Southern had some dudes. Like, I ain't trying to be funny with y'all and, don't let the orange, white, and green school colors fool you. You know, the glasses back there, they got FAMU on them, but they're tinted regular color. I recognize, and this is a game where I just don't think Valley has the dudes. I think FAMU got dudes, and they got some dudes that are kinda hungry, and they recruited well, but some of what they recruited got a little bit of that can't go back home, and that kinda the situation came from school-wise is a situation where I can't go back to. Like, I can't transfer up back to D1, and F not D1, we are D1, but I can't transfer up back to FBS. Imma have to do my thing here, and Imma show my tail. I think FAMU's got enough of those guys that this game gets ugly. I think it's gonna be 42-14 if travel's done right. Now, if the travel's off by a little bit and they gotta ride that bus, I-10 to the 49, boy, that score gonna come real closer to, like, 35, 30 to 20, but I think FAMU just it's too much. It's too much. You got a new football coach. He's never seen this before. Coming this far in the season, he will have not seen the FAMU. Well, okay, he will, and it's a back-to-back weeks. That's scary because, and sorry, Herb, I stole your thing right there, but go check out my man from HBCU Nightly, what Josh is saying. North Carolina Central is go back and watch that game. You play the 2 most physical teams on your schedule in back-to-back weeks, potentially most physical, and that's gonna be a saving grace for FAMU 'cause Central owed them a tail whipping, and you're gonna be playing on a national stage, Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm just saying, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a big ask from college students when they going against the top 2 teams in historic black college football back-to-back weeks. Um, that may balance it out, but man, I think North Carolina Central gonna 50 on them boys. And I think they may be upset, but they're gonna be bruised. And you can be upset and bruised all you want to. You can have all the ego you want to. But when you play the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation back to back, you can only get up so much off of pure adrenaline before you start get up in that arm start feeling bruised. And we talk about them hard charging linebackers and hard pounding running backs, but hell, if you done got clawed by North Carolina Central the week before, and Rattlers fucking you, that's 2 weeks of ass whippings. I'm I don't know what's I look, I ain't I love my mom, but man, my dad got hold of me one time, and it was I was like, "Look, this man ain't gonna beat me. I'm sorry. Look, whatever he say go. Whatever you want, you got that, chief. Whatever you want, it's your castle, man. I'm just Indian. Look, I'm just here, bro. I just live here. I'm just trying to survive. That dude flipped me upside down with one hand and wore my ass out. I was like, never again. Never again. Like, oh, I still the hair stands up on the back of my neck. And I earned it. I earned that whooping too. I ain't even gonna sit up here. He beat me for nothing. No, I earned that whooping. I did. I forgot what I did, but I earned it. That is 2 weeks of some grown men, fourth and fifth year seniors, 6 year seniors beating up on you. Nah, Valley. I that's a tough road to hold there, buddy, as my old folks say. So FAMU dominates us from 42-14. I had to go back and look at that schedule. Once I saw Central was right before FAMU, whoo, whoa, boy, y'all might want to, take a dip in the Mississippi that next day. Y'all gonna want to baptize these children because they're gonna want to get saved after getting beat like that for them couple of weeks. But yeah, man. Only thing that could really throw this off the weather. The weather is another X factor. Is it gonna be kind of chilly in Mississippi? You know how Florida boys respond to the cold. A lot of us don't like it. It don't bother me. So could be interesting. Gonna be fun to see. But that's what we got, y'all. We ran, but we ran. Big shout out to HBCU Digital Network. This is home. Shout out to Herb Stewart and the Black Techies. Check out the HBCUdigital.com apps. You can see, man, we got a little something we brewing over here, man. It's been going for a while. I couldn't say nothing about it, but the Pigskin Showdown Colleges HBCU All Stars is going to be something happening in the city of Chicago. Go check it out, though. Go check it out on the website, and it's going to tell you all about it. It's a nice little write up. Look, our brother's hoping to be able to, I ain't lying. I'm trying to see if I can score the flight, bring some rattlers with me. Hopefully, we can come back with a win. But also check out Herb with the band. Herb is doing a lot with the bands just going into the fall. Y'all know this is band season. Probably gonna be at one of the Battle of the Bands again. Herb was at the Battle of the Band last year, so look for his content to come out there. Also, he's normally one of the routine regulars with HBCU Nightly. I missed, so go catch the rebroadcast of that today. Willie Simmons was on there, but I missed it. I was out having a meeting with some guys about something, so we're working on something. Um, also, we definitely gonna be back here on Sunday. So Sunday we'll be back, and we're gonna talk about the next game on this FAMU schedule. Woof, which is gonna be Southern, as some of y'all like to say. The game in Red Stick, this is going to be a fun one. Hopefully, the attendance is better than last time. Some of that was on us. And in this case, I ain't gonna lie, if you're a Southern fan, timing timing is kinda on your side a little bit, but not completely, because you got a weird one where right before Houston and them flights to Houston, look, they're a whole lot cheaper than the flight to Baton Rouge. So, we'll see. This could be an interesting one. If the band is announced, that's gonna be the kicker, so hopefully we get some announcements from the 100 about what games they're going to, especially the USF game. They got some questions being asked. Are they coming? Are they not coming? Hopefully we can get a confirmation on that from the, bands saying that they are coming because they're kinda selling some tickets pretty much stating that we're gonna sit near the band. I wouldn't spend money to sit near a band that's not gonna be there. It's just me. So, but hopefully we get some of that information out there. But keep checking out, y'all. We're gonna talk about some of these recruits too, man. FAMU is offers, getting back on that with HBC Digital and Fangs Up, dropping the latest information about the students who've been offered, the commitments that we just got, and all the good things that are happening on the highest of 7 hills Your top 3 favorite universities should be FAMU, that school on the south side of town where the snakes are, and the highest of Seven Hills, where our president is Larry Robinson, for better or for worse, however you feel about Dr. Robinson's business. Um, so I know somebody would have got him got the belt already, but I ain't gonna say who though. So as always, y'all, it's gonna be Fangs.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal.
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it?